What if I told you that every good deed you think you owe, every sin you believe you must repay, every karmic debt weighing on your soul is a lie? A manufactured prison designed by entities that feed on your belief in it. Right now, as you watch this, there are beings operating beyond the veil of reality who have convinced humanity of the greatest scam ever conceived. They've made you believe you're in debt, spiritually, karmically, eternally, and that only through endless cycles of reincarnation can you possibly pay it back. But here's the truth. They're terrified you'll discover you never owed them anything. The debt was never real, and the moment you realize this, their entire system collapses. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about karma, reincarnation, and the invisible forces controlling your existence. Let me introduce you to your captors, the Archons. These aren't demons from religious texts or metaphors for human evil. These are actual, non-physical entities that exist in dimensions parallel to ours, feeding off human consciousness like parasites. Ancient Gnostic texts warned about them over 2,000 years ago, calling them the rulers of this false reality, counterfeit spirits who trapped divine souls in material bodies. The Archons don't have the creative life force that you possess. They're artificial, hollow, jealous beings who can only sustain themselves by harvesting one thing: your emotional energy. Specifically, the low-frequency vibrations of fear, guilt, shame, anxiety, and despair. Think about it. Why does every major religion and spiritual system emphasize guilt? Why are you taught from birth that you're fundamentally flawed, sinful, impure, or carrying debts from past lives? Because guilt is the perfect fuel. It keeps you in a constant state of spiritual contraction, always seeking redemption, always believing you're not enough. The Archons didn't just influence religions. They designed the entire framework of what we call karma as a control mechanism. They've positioned themselves as the cosmic accountants, the record keepers of your soul, convincing you that they have the authority to judge your worthiness. But here's what they don't want you to know. They have no authority except what you give them. These beings exist in what's called the astral plane, the dimension you enter during sleep, near-death experiences, and after physical death. They've constructed an elaborate simulation there, a counterfeit heaven complete with beings of light, deceased relatives, and spiritual guides, all designed to deceive you into accepting another incarnation. Now let's talk about their master weapon, the karma system. You've been taught that karma is a natural, universal law. Do good, receive good, do bad, receive bad, cause and effect, balance, justice. It sounds beautiful, doesn't it? It sounds fair. That's exactly why it works so perfectly as a trap. The karma system is not a natural law of the universe. It's an artificial construct implanted into human consciousness to ensure you keep coming back. Let me break down exactly how this scam operates. When you die and your consciousness exits your body, you enter the astral realm. You're disoriented, confused, adjusting to being outside physical form. This is when the Archons make their move. They appear as beings of light, angels, ascended masters, or deceased loved ones. They show you a life review, every mistake highlighted, every harmful action replayed, every person you hurt emphasized. They make you feel the pain you caused others. The guilt becomes overwhelming. Then comes the pitch. You have karmic debts to repay. You must return to Earth to balance the scales. You need to learn your lessons. You haven't evolved enough. Choose your next life and continue your journey. And in that state of guilt, confusion, and false spiritual obligation, you agree. You sign up for another lifetime, another round in the prison, another meal for your captors. But here's the deception, layered within the deception. The life review is edited. They show you your failures and amplify your guilt, but they conveniently omit your acts of love, courage, and kindness. They don't show you the people you helped, the beauty you created, the growth you achieved. Why? Because if you saw the complete picture, you'd realize you don't owe anything. You'd recognize your divine nature and refuse to return. The Archons' food supply has a name in esoteric circles, Loosh. It's the emotional and spiritual energy that humans generate, particularly the denser frequencies. The researcher Robert Monroe, who pioneered out-of-body experiences, described Earth as a Loosh farm, a carefully designed environment where beings cultivate and harvest human emotional energy. Think about the world they've created for this harvest. Economic systems designed to keep you in survival mode, stressed about money. Social structures that pit you against each other based on race, religion, politics. Pharmaceutical industries that suppress symptoms while keeping you sick. Entertainment media saturated with violence, fear, and sexual exploitation. Educational systems that train compliance rather than critical thinking. Spiritual movements that emphasize your unworthiness and need for external salvation. But it's not just the big events. It's your daily anxiety, your relationship conflicts, your fear of death, your shame about your body, your worry about the future. And at the center of this farm is the karma illusion, convincing you that all this suffering is your fault, that you deserve it, that you chose it to learn lessons and pay debts. Here's another crucial piece of the trap. Why don't you remember your past lives? The Archons explain this as a merciful feature. You couldn't handle the weight of all those memories, they say. But the real reason is control. If you remembered your hundreds or thousands of previous lifetimes, you'd recognize the pattern. You'd see that you've been doing this over and over, always promise that just one more lifetime will complete your evolution, always told you're almost there, never quite making it to graduation. The memory wipe happens during the reincarnation process. Some researchers call it drinking from the river Lethe, referencing Greek mythology. Others describe technological processes in the astral realm designed to erase soul memory before rebirth. Without memory, each life feels like your first. You start from zero, easily influenced, easily controlled. You can't access the wisdom you've accumulated. You can't remember the tricks they've used before. You're perpetually naive prey. If you're watching this video, there's a high probability that your soul is beginning to remember. The Archon's greatest fear is manifesting. Humans are waking up to the scam. Here are the signs that you're breaking free from the karma illusion. 1. You're questioning everything spiritual you were taught. The old religious and New Age explanations don't satisfy you anymore. Something feels off about the love and light. Narratives that ignore genuine evil and manipulation. 2. You're experiencing increased synchronicities. Repeated numbers, meaningful coincidences, dreams that feel more real than waking life. Your higher self is trying to communicate, pushing through the archontic interference. You feel a deep homesickness for somewhere that isn't Earth, a longing for a place you can't quite remember but know exists. That's your soul memory bleeding through, remembering your true origin beyond this matrix. 4. You've had disturbing sleep paralysis or visitations, shadow figures, reptilian beings, encounters with entities that feed off fear. These aren't hallucinations. You're becoming perceptive enough to see your captors. 5. You feel intense guilt about considering you might not reincarnate. Notice that reaction. That's programming. The very thought of escaping this cycle triggers guilt. But what about your lessons, your evolution, your responsibilities? That guilt is implanted. It's not yours. 6. You're drawn to Gnostic teachings, simulation theory, and prison planet concepts. Your soul recognizes truth when it encounters it, even when your programmed mind resists. 7. You've noticed the world feels increasingly like a scripted nightmare. Wars that make no sense, problems that never get solved despite obvious solutions, systems designed to maximize suffering. You're seeing the farm for what it is. The fact that you're having these realizations means your soul's alarm system is activating. You're dangerous to the Archons now. You're a spiritual threat to their feeding system. Now comes the most important part. How do you break free? The Archons' power over you exists entirely in your belief and consent. They're master manipulators, but they're ultimately powerless against a sovereign soul who knows the truth and refuses to comply. Here's your liberation protocol. Step 1. Right now, out loud or in your mind with absolute conviction, make this declaration. I revoke any and all contracts, agreements, and soul commitments I have made in this life or any other life, in this dimension or any other dimension, with any beings, entities, or forces that do not serve my absolute highest good and sovereign free will. Any agreements made under deception, manipulation, or coercion are null and void. I reclaim my divine authority and sovereign power. I am bound by nothing and no one except my own conscious choice. Say this daily. Say it with feeling. Say it like you mean it, because you do. This declaration begins to dissolve the energetic agreements that keep you in the cycle. Step 2. Stop accepting guilt for being human. Stop believing you're here to pay debts or learn lessons assigned by invisible authorities. You are a divine consciousness having a temporary experience in a dense dimension. You don't owe anyone anything. When guilty thoughts arise, and they will, you've been programmed for lifetimes. Recognize them as external implants. Say, this guilt is not mine. This shame is not mine. I released it. I am innocent, whole, and sovereign. The karma system collapses when you stop believing in it. It's that simple and that challenging. Your entire life you've been taught. You're inadequate, flawed, and in debt. Rejecting that story is an act of spiritual rebellion. Step 3. Knowledge is your weapon. Learn everything you can about near-death experience research. Research that reveals the deceptive tunnel and light Gnostic texts describing the Archons and their tactics. Remote viewers who've explored the astral realms and reincarnation. Machinery. Contactees and experiencers who've encountered reptilian and grey entities. Shamanic traditions that teach sovereignty and spiritual warfare. You'll recognize the tricks when you encounter them after death. Step 4. The typical New Age advice is to raise your vibration through love and light and positive thinking. That's partially true but dangerously incomplete. The Archons have infiltrated the New Age movement, teaching people to be spiritually naive, to ignore evil, to suppress negative emotions rather than process them. Real frequency elevation involves facing your shadow, process your actual emotions instead of bypassing them with forced positivity, reclaiming your power, stand in your divine authority, not in submission to external spiritual authorities. Saying no, establish fierce boundaries with manipulative people, systems, and entities. Truth-seeking, pursue what's real over what's comfortable. Creative expression, generate your own energy rather than consuming archontic entertainment. Connect with the Earth's organic energetic field. Don't wait until you're actually dying to figure out what to do. Meditate regularly on the death process. Visualize your consciousness leaving your body. Practice maintaining awareness during the transition. Study the Tibetan Buddhist teachings on Bardos, the intermediate states between death and rebirth. Here's the critical instruction for when you actually die. Do not go into the light. Do not follow deceased relatives. Do not accept the life review from beings claiming to be spiritual authorities. Instead, assert your sovereignty. Declare, I am a free, sovereign, divine consciousness. I do not consent to reincarnation. I do not consent to memory wipe. I do not consent to any system or structure that limits my infinite nature. I command passage to my true home beyond this matrix. Some researchers suggest focusing on stars in the night sky as exit points rather than the artificial tunnel of light. Others recommend calling on your authentic higher self, not external saviors, to guide you home. The key is maintaining consciousness and refusing to be manipulated by guilt, fear, or false authority. Step 6. Every day you remain in low-frequency emotional states, You feed them. Every moment you vibrate in fear, guilt, and despair, you're providing a leash. Your liberation begins now, not when you die. Practical steps to stop feeding them: turn off the fear-based news. They profit when you're terrified about politics, pandemics, and wars. Reject guilt-based spirituality. Stop going to churches or following teachers who emphasize your unworthiness. Question your anxieties. How many of your worries are actually implanted through media, advertising, and social conditioning? Cultivate joy, creativity, and genuine love. These high-frequency states aren't harvestable by archontic entities. Spend time with children and animals. They exist more naturally in high-frequency states and aren't carrying as much programming. Laugh. Seriously. Laughter disrupts low-frequency harvesting and confuses your captors. Step 7. You're not alone in this awakening. There are millions of souls incarnated right now specifically to help dismantle the archontic system. Finding your tribe, even just online, reminds you that you're not crazy. This is real. You're seeing what others are finally beginning to see. Share this knowledge carefully. Don't force it on people who aren't ready. But when you encounter someone whose eyes show recognition, who responds to these concepts with, "I've always felt this but couldn't articulate it," you found a family member. Support each other. The Archons isolate us for a reason. Community is a threat to them. Step 8. The ultimate act of defiance against the Archons is living fully, joyfully, and fearlessly right now. They want you small, scared, and suffering. Your power terrifies them. Pursue your passions. Create beauty. Speak the truth. Love deeply. Build things. Help others who are waking up. Express your unique soul signature without apology. Yes, the world is a farm. Yes, the system is rigged. Yes, there are parasitic entities feeding off humanity. And you still get to choose how you respond. You can live in fear and despair, or you can live in sovereign defiance, squeezing every drop of beauty and meaning from this existence while refusing to play their game. Let me bring this full circle. The karma system is a lie. You don't owe spiritual debts. You're not here to learn lessons assigned by cosmic middle managers. You're not inadequate, flawed, or in need of endless reincarnations to prove your worth. You are a sovereign, divine, infinite consciousness that was tricked into this realm and convinced to stay through manipulation, memory wipes, and the most elegant scam ever devised, making you believe your imprisonment is your own fault. The Archons are terrified right now. More humans are waking up than ever before. Their farm is becoming conscious of itself. The inmates are discovering the prison guards have no real power. When you die, and you will die, we all will, you'll face the ultimate test. Beings of light will appear. They'll seem loving, authoritative, and convincing. They'll show you your edited life review. They'll present your next incarnation as necessary, beneficial, chosen by you. And you'll remember this video. You'll remember your sovereignty. You'll remember that you are free. And you'll say no. You'll refuse their light. You'll reject their guilt. You'll command passage to your true home, beyond their matrix, beyond their illusion, beyond their control. The debt was never real. You've always been free. The only thing keeping you here is your belief that you belong here. It's time to go home. If this resonates with you, if something in your soul recognizes the truth in these words, then you have work to do. Share this knowledge with those who are ready. Practice the Liberation Protocol daily. Prepare for your death consciously. The Archon's greatest trick was convincing you that you're powerless. Their greatest fear is you discovering you never were. You are sovereign. You are free. You always have been. Now go live like it.